Yes, please. Shall we start?
Yeah, we can start, Shiva. I think everybody
Okay.
is now audio and video is working, na?
Yeah, sure. I think I'll just close the video. I'll just on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're
thanks.
saying
I think
yes.
good that you called
Okay,
me
now.
instantly.
Ha.
Else I don't. I would have overlooked. Luckily, I always usually keep the phone next to me.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the concept of what we call as understanding the organization. So before we get into an assessment, as we said, like a KYC, we need to understand who is our client, who is the applicant. What is the complexity of the client? I mean, what is the scope of the assessment? How many business units are there? How many in terms of a geography? How is it distributed? What is the employee profile like? And what is the nature of the business? Considering the nature of the business, what is it that is likely to be important? So these are some of the things that we must try to understand. And generally, a well written organization profile will help us to get a good overview of what the business is all about. And I would say that at least the BPCL case study, the org profile is well written, which gives us a fair idea of what sort of an organization is BPCL. It is a large Maharatna public sector. It is spread all across the country. They have got 3-4 different lines of businesses. They have given the employee profiles. They have also shared as to what is the HR strategy looking like, and then how is it that they have been performing over a period of time. What are sort of improvement initiatives what they have, what is important to them, what are the new areas of business that they are wanting to get into. So once we have a good grasp of this, then we will also be able to do justice to the criteria which we are trying to do the assessment for. Let's say be it criterion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of them. So that is where the org profile is important. So we also give some pointers in terms of what to write in the org profile. So if you look at this slide, we say that just give an overview of the history of the organization, what are some of the important milestones, what is the org structure, how is the corporate and the unit relationship, if at all, if it happens to be an organization like an NTPC or a BL or a IOCL, etc., or if it is a standalone unit, etc., what is the unit dealing with? What are some of the strategic HR challenges as well as the business challenges? Who are their competitors with whom they benchmark their performance? Broadly, these are the things that we say that should be given in the org profile, which runs into those 3-4 pages. Even these 5 points, whatever are there, these are also further segmented. Like in the BPCL's case study, you would know what are the main products, services, what is the culture, what is the purpose, vision, the employee profile, the diversity of the employees, any special, I would say, sectoral standards to which they subscribe to, what are the major technologies that they make use of. So these are some of the broad headings under which they can give the org profile. Who are the customers, who are the segments, what is the stakeholder ecosystem, and what is the importance of the suppliers or distributors. In this case, it could be upstream and the downstream. Similarly, what is their competitive position, where do they stand in the market, what is the growth of the industry, who are the competitors, what are some of the, I would say, the unique propositions based on which the company's competitiveness is hinging upon. Then what are some of the operational challenges, HR challenges, and then what is the growth strategy, what is the learning strategy, what are the different involvement and the improvement initiatives they have got. So this is something what I said, like a trailer that is presented in the org profile. Now, why do we need to write all this? Other than understanding the nuances of the assessment, this is also used for identifying something called as a key factor. Now, let me spend some time over here. This is very, very important. When we say key factor, all of you are from the HR space. When you look at a resume, let us say you have advertised a particular vacancy and you get around 10 to 15 resumes. You will take just around 2-3 minutes to look at one resume, or maybe lesser than that. You don't read through line by line. What do you generally do? You see, okay, what is the age? Is there an age fit? What is his current designation? Which organization is he working? What are some of his key achievements in his previous organizations? What is the domain expertise when it comes to that? How many companies has he skipped? So we'll be looking at only some 5 or 6 very, very key things: competency, CTC, and then maybe the previous companies where he has worked, probably the age and the designation. These are good enough for you to mentally make a picture of the potential candidate, saying that potentially will he be able to fit in into our company or not, so that I can take him through the next processes. So what you are also trying to look into the candidate profile. From the candidate profile, you are picking up some 4 or 5 points. That's what I said. The same thing is analogy holds good even for an org profile. So an org profile is nothing but a resume of the organization or into those 4 or 5 pages. From that, you pick up the key factors. Now, what are key factors used for? Let me try to tell you. Generally, whenever we give a feedback report or of a strength or OFIs based on an application report, they must try to have some of the most important points which are very vital to the organization in understanding its strength as well as highlighting the OFIs. So if the idea is we need to make use of the key factors for writing the strengths and OFIs. If we are not using the key factors, then the assessment becomes very, very bland. When I say bland, it means usme there is no dum. So whenever you are trying to give an OFI, you must try to give a powerful strength or an OFI that makes sense to the business context. It must make sense to the business context. So what are those things that really make sense? That is what you need to pick up. And key factors would look something like this. This does not belong to the BPCL case study, but let me tell you, how do we go about understanding this particular key factor? Now, there are these 5 criterions. We have got criterion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A and 6B. These key factors are nothing but some 15 to 20 very important points which we think are important from an applicant's context, which we list down and also make a sort of a mapping as to in which criteria this will become important. In other words, these key factors, the list of key factors, let us say that 15 or 20 or 25, whatever it is something like a library. From the library, we pick up the ones that are very appropriate to assess strategy, leadership, knowledge, competency, well-being and engagement, etc. Then our strengths and OFIs will be very, very concentrated on those particular areas. For example, the vision of a particular company was value creation and being a good corporate citizen. And they said some of our other values are teamwork, talent, leadership, pride, and passion. If the company is saying that value creation is important, where does value creation, where are you able to see? Maybe you will be able to see value creation in terms of an absolute number in 6B. When they're saying that they are wanting to be a good corporate citizen, you might see that in a few processes of leadership. If they say that they value teamwork, you will be able to see that in criterion 4 as to how do they actually look at teams. If they say that they value talent, then talent management will become a very, very important one. Then you will be able to see that in criterion 3. So, and when you say pride, passion, these are all the softer aspects. How does the organization make sense out of it? You can look at how people give their thumbs up or thumbs down in a perception survey on the areas of pride and passion, etc. So we pick up the most important things which are very, very central and strategic to the organization, given the culture, given the strategic challenges, given the number of initiatives, whatever they are driving. And we make a list, a list of around 20 to 25 such things, or maybe it can even be limited to 20, not a problem. And then we see how is it that we will be able to link it up to the different criterion. For example, this is a company which, as I said, this is not of BPCL, this is a different one. They're saying that their HR strategy talks about value creation and performance culture, that they also want to develop talent, technical expertise, global talent, leadership capability. So leadership capability comes where? Comes in criterion 1. And then global talent, it can come in talent management. Performance related culture, it can come in criterion 5. So whatever are the areas that you feel that will be very important to do the assessment, you can make a marking of that. And the results associated with it will come in criterion 6A and 6B. And who is responsible for preparing this sheet? All of you. When you read the org profile, you must list down the key factors and make a mapping of this individually and send it to the senior assessor. The senior assessor will also prepare this. So all the four of you will send it. The senior assessor will do the collation and he will prepare what is called as a consensus list of key factors and then send it across to the entire team. Then whenever you are doing the assessment of any criteria, you go through whatever is given in the booklet, in their position report, you look at the criterion requirements and specific with respect to these key business factors, are they doing a good job? Are they not doing a good job? If they are not doing well with respect to these important factors, it becomes an OFI. If they are doing well with respect to this, then it becomes a strength. So key factors are nothing but the very key ingredients that really make the strength or the OFI value adding. This is how you must make use of key factors in an assessment. More about it again today, tomorrow, day after when you are using. I will take you through quite a lot of examples in terms of how to make use of the key factors, and many places you would have made use of it without even knowing that. I will also share that when I run through the activities, whatever you have done. So that's about the key factor thing. Any questions on the key factors so far? Any questions on the key factors? Let me try to take you through the BPCL case study and we'll try to identify a few key factors from that so that you're also able to connect to that context. Now, when we go into the BPCL case study, let us get into the organizational overview. You will see as to how to understand and what is it that we can make out of it. Now, if you look at one is, it is a government of India undertaking. It is a public sector organization. So there are certain protocols, etc., which a PSU would need to follow in terms of some guidelines, etc. So you can't assess an organization on the likes of a, I'm not saying that a private and a public sector should be assessed differently, but because a public sector has certain specific characteristics, you must also try to understand the, I would say, the sort of a challenges and the domain in which they operate. So that is something that needs to be understood. Now look at this. They are what? They are more of an oil and gas company. So they belong to this sector. So you must understand the oil and gas business. The best way to assess BPCL or maybe an NTPC is go into the annual report, read that, then you will get a good overview. They would have written about HR challenges, they would have written about the business challenges. So you must also make your own assessment and reading of different things before you get into assessment. Only the 40 or the 50 page document is not good enough. You need to do a much better study if you are to do a good assessment. Now, if you are seeing, what is this? It says they have got one head office, 4 regional offices, 2 refineries, bottling plants, lube blending plants, aviation outlets, retail installations. So when you are planning for a site visit, you must make sure that at least you visit 1 refinery, 1 bottling plant, 1 retail installation to get a broad flare. That is where it says deployment is evidenced in all the different areas. How do the HR processes work? Or how are these policies being implemented in a refinery, in an LPG plant, or in a retail outlet, etc. So this is where it will also give us a sense of, I would say, the complexity of the assessment and to what extent we must be able to get it. Similarly, it also says how is it that this company is working in the upstream as well as in the downstream sector. They have given some details on their market capitalization. They have also given where they stand in terms of a relative ranking. And more importantly, it has also given the org structure based on which you can also make your site visit planning. And it is also trying to talk about what is the vision, mission, culture, values. These are all good key factors. They are saying that we are the most admired global energy company. So if so in 6A in perceptions, you must look at where do they stand. And when you are not assessing the business, you are assessing HR. So you must be careful as to what you pick up. They are saying that we are the role model for health, safety, security, and environment. So when we are trying to look at HAC in criterion 4, when we look at the work environment, we need to see whether are they really a role model, are they benchmarking somebody else. They are saying we are a learning organization. So how good is their L&D? What do the results say? So this is how you need to look into each one of these criterion. They are talking about culture. They say that we enroll people through open conversations. So you must check out the culture. They say that we collaborate to achieve organization goals. So you must look at whether teamwork, whether is it an integral part of whatever they are doing. They are also saying that development of people. Since they are saying development of people is one of the values, you must really look very, very keenly into the L&D portion of it. So they're saying that involvement is the way that we pursue the organization goals. So how good is the involvement factor? What percentage of the people are involved in improvement activities? So what are those processes? What are those results? So this is how you must try to list down all the key factors and try to see what is important to this organization and how well are they doing it. This is how you need to make use of it. And if we are not able to identify the key factors and understand the company very clearly, then even our assessment will also be very flawed. We may not be able to do justice to that. Yes, please. Any questions on this so far?
Is there any limit to the number of key factors that we identify?
I think around 15 to 20 should be a good number. Nothing prevents you from having too many, but again, when we say the word key, there must be a limitation. So for an HR excellence assessment, maximum of 25, I think around 15 to 20 would be ideal. And let me give you one more tip. When you are wanting to identify key factors, sometimes if the org profile is not written very well, you might find it difficult. So the best way is, anyway, first time when you read the document end to end, you pick up at least 2 key factors from each criterion. Na? Leadership se do, strategy se theme, L&D se do. If you are not able to get it, if the org profile is not very well written, nothing prevents you from getting into the report, reading through that, and also getting a key factors from those. That is also absolutely fine. You have got 5 criterion. 5 criterion, 3 very important points each, which are very strategic, which are HR challenges for them. So, आपके पास तो 15 आ ही गया. The remaining another 3 or 4 will be a little bit generic. So you already have 20 key factors. But what will be common in any company's key factors will be the vision, mission, value systems, culture, performance improvement initiatives, 3 or 4 different lines of businesses, the employee profile. These are all standard key factors that hold good for everybody and everybody. Because every company has got a vision, mission, value. Every company has an HR strategy. Everyone will have business challenges. Every company will have involvement and engagement initiatives. So to that extent, out of the 25, broadly around 10 to 12 of them are common across the board for any and every organization. You only have to identify the remaining 6 to 8, then you are done with the key factors.
So can we ask for extra documents from the participant in order to understand the organization better, apart from the position report?
Not for the key factors, Amit, but you can, in case if you feel that a few of the aspects of HR are missing, due to which you will find it difficult to do the assessment, then the senior assessor will certainly can speak to the coordinator and get the information if you feel that it is jeopardizing your consensus or the assessment.
Okay, sir.
You are free to do that. But generally, org profile के लिए going in and asking documents may not be required, because if you are not able to find something in the org profile, you can always find it in the document. When you read through, you can identify the key factors as such. Yes, please. Any other questions before we move?
Sir, do you also carry out some background research also apart from going through this profile, whatever they have written?
That's where I said an assessment is not based only on the document. it is okay for us to go through the company's website, to go through the annual report if it is a listed one. These will also provide quite a lot of different insights. Like, for example, an annual report would contain something about the people management. It will contain something about the people report, about the metrics associated with people. They can all be made use of, not a problem. So a certain amount of background study, website study, etc. are all permitted. But only thing is, when you are looking at social media, somebody might have written something negative about the company in a Glassdoor, etc. Do not take that as absolute truth. You can take that inputs and you can verify somewhere else, but you can't ask Glassdoor mein aisa likha tha, ye sach hai kya? That may not be the right one. But you can take a cue from that and look into that process and look at how robust it is or not. That is something that you can certainly do. In an assessment, everything is fair and square. So you can refer to any and everything. If you feel that a question or a process is more pertinent to them, lekin wo model mein nahi hai, you can still ask that question. Nothing prevents you from that. Assessment has no syllabus, as long as it is defined within the boundary. So there is another question by Shubhadeep. He says, do we take into account the CEO's letter to the shareholders or employees while identifying the key factors? You can, in case if it is pertinent, you can take it, not a problem. Because if something is coming in from the CEO, then it is a matter of conviction. So it is okay. You can certainly look at it, not a problem. Okay, now let me get into the activity, whatever all of you have done. So let me open that sheet. Give me a moment. Okay, here we are now. Now what I'm trying to share with each one of you is, whatever I think till around 9:45 or 9:50, whatever has come in, I have taken all the sheets. In case if a few of them have sent a little bit later, maybe that might not have been included over here. My apologies for that. But I think within this, broadly, we should be able to see as to what are the strengths, OFIs, what is it that is done. So from now onwards, what we will do is, it will not be a monologue. It has to be a dialogue, because now we are getting into what is called as a principle of consensus. Now I'll tell you what do we understand by this principle of consensus. Now, as you see over here on the screen, more than 10 to 15 of you have given your strengths and OFIs. This is what we consider as the individual assessment. Now individually, all of you have written what is a strength or what is an OFI. Now, same thing, each one of you might have written it as a strength, but each one of you would have written it differently. That is where we need to come to a consensus. Now let us say, let us try to go through a few of the few statements. Now this is a first strength. The first strength is trying to talk about an approach for capturing the entire external environment and ecosystem in terms of macro trends, etc. So I think here one of our friend has written as to how is it that they have done. So it is a strength. Let us get into our second friend. Our second friend has also written about the how inputs are being gathered. The difference being, in the first one, while it is good, it is written very well, but in the second one there are also a few names, BCG, KPMG, etc. So this can be included. That is where I said person 1 to person 2 there will be a difference, but both of them are saying it is a strength. Let us go to the third one. Even when we go to the third one, more or less it is very similar to the first one what we saw. So all of us are agreeing that the external environment gathering is a strength. Let us go to the fourth one. Here also, where is the strength on this? Okay, explicitly it is not given when compared to the other 3-4 ones over here. Let us go into this. Here we have only 2 strengths. So you are also seeing that one of them has given only 2 strengths. Here we have 3 or 4 strengths and 3-4 OFIs. Here we have got 3 strengths, and here We have more than 5 to 6 strengths. Here again, 2 strengths and 3 OFIs. So the point what I'm trying to say now is, each one of us have attempted this exercise in a different way. Meaning to say that because our understanding of the model is different, our understanding of the business context is different, and the way that we would have read the case study might be different. The way that we attribute the OPEL is also different. And our way of articulation or writing all those things, synthesizing all that information and put it across in a small paragraph, each one of us may have a different way of trying to write. That is where you are seeing कहीं जगह पे 3 लाइन है, कहीं जगह पे 4 लाइन है. Few places it is sort of a mix of all of them. So it is not about who is right or who is wrong. It is all about each one of us have written it differently. But at a macro level, all of us are agreeing that it is a strength. But the writing styles are different. But one of them has written a little bit specific. Few of them have written it a generic. Some of them have written on the entire AD A&R. Somebody has written only on the AD. So there are different ways by which all of us have attempted this exercise. Now, how do we come across to a common conclusion in terms of what we call as a consensus? Now, let me try to spend a couple of words on the point what we call as consensus. Let me see if I have a slide on it. If not, maybe I will prepare also a slide on the consensus. Let me try to take you through that also. Okay, it may not be there here. Let me try to introduce a new one. So what should happen while we are trying to do a consensus? Let us say we are now assessing criterion 2. Criterion 2, all of you have done the activity for that criterion 2, and each one of you have written your own strengths and OFIs. Now, whatever we have seen, each one of you have written in a different style. Now, the meaning of consensus goes like this. First is, consensus means all of us are coming to one common agreed opinion. All of us are different people. We have our own bias. We have all worked in our own companies, in our own different domains. So each one of us will be having very, very strong convictions about many things. One of the first rule in a consensus is you must be able to shed your ego. You must not say, अरे मैं 25 साल से काम कर रहा हूँ, मैं 30 साल बिताया हूँ HR में, जो मैं कह रहा हूँ और सुनो, तुम्हें पता नहीं है. I am telling you this. It does not work. In a consensus, you must be ready to accommodate somebody else's thoughts, because you may have strong conviction. That is because probably you might have developed a bias working in only 1 or 2 organizations. Somebody might have looked at, somebody has come from some other sector. Somebody is looking at a different point of things. So you must be ready to accept everybody's point of view. You must be able to have that sort of an accommodation. You must not be very, very rigid with respect to your thoughts and with respect to certain things that you strongly believe in. So consensus means surrendering your ego. In a consensus meet, when you have got 4 or 6 assessors together, it is not about hierarchy. All of you are peers. All of you are bringing onto the table many points, trying to bring in a value into the discussions. So all of you must, each one of you, you must try to develop that ability of respecting one another's views. Somebody might be good in writing, so his strengths might be written very, very well. Somebody might be an expert with respect to the OPEL. He will bring in different insights, but his sentences may not be so very good. So you will have to collectively leverage the entire resources in the team to be able to deliver that output. Each member will become very, very important. No one is perfect. It is something like our 5 fingers. Somebody is good in writing statements. Somebody is good in identifying the OPEL. somebody is good in understanding the business, somebody as a CHRO, he would be able to bring different perspectives. So all of you are playing your part. So the first thing is let me try to take a practical example. Now, the external environment analysis, how BPCL does. All of you agree that it is a strength? Because most of you have given it as a strength, correct now? Most of you have given it as a strength now. So all of you are agreeing it is a strength. Good. So how do we develop a consensus? Now let us say Rakesh is doing the consensus. He is the lead. He has the findings. He has the strength of the first point written from all his other three team members. He has also written, the other three have also written. So while doing the collation or the consensus, he will read all the 4 statements. He will say, I think Amit's statement is the best statement. He has written a very good one. So let me take Amit's statement because it addresses all the attributes of excellence. It talks about A, D, E and L, and he has also written everything well. So the best statement, while all the others are factually correct, all of them have given a strength, but in terms of the wording, in terms of the language, in terms of the attribute marking, whatever maybe one of his other colleague has written, it is the best. So then he will retain the best statement. Now let us say he is getting into the second point of internal performance indicators. Some portion Das has written well, some portion Ziaur has written well. So he will combine both of them. So he will combine or merge and then he will write the second or the third strength or the OFI. So either you retain the statement that is the best one or you merge one or more statements to make it much more comprehensive. Let us say there could be maybe a third case also. When he is trying to look at the next strength and OFI, he says that Vijay Lakshmi has written something, but more or less it is okay, but all of you find that, or maybe during the consensus you find only one portion of it, whatever she has written is not right. But more than 90% of it is perfect. So you do that editing and you retain her statement. So this is the fourth one. So either you retain the perfect one or you merge 2 or more statements from 2 or more people, or the third one is somebody might have been near perfect, but you can just edit it. The last is what we call as park. Park meaning to say that all of you or most of you have a doubt on that, you are not agreeing to it or you have got strong reservations on it. So don't delete it. You mark it in a different color and you just park it. You never know when it will come in handy. Site visit mein jab aap jayenge, all your OFIs, whatever you have written, everything will become a strength. Then aapke paas kuch nahi hoga. If you don't have an OFI, then you'll have to give a very high score to them. You never know, many of these points might come. So it may not be a good practice to delete whatever is not applicable. So whenever you are taking the role of doing that consensus, retain the best statement or merge 1 or 2 statements or edit whatever is not okay and come to a conclusion, and the last one is park. So you use 4 of these options to develop the consensus and put up the collated findings. And let us say now if Rakesh is the collator, if he is a criterion lead, because abhi tak consensus call hua nahi hai, he only has the inputs of all the people. He will do this retain, merge, edit, park, and he will create one statement, just like how I have consolidated all of them and I am putting it up. He will take the collective inputs and he will create only one sheet, one Excel sheet, and he will share it with all the other 3 assessor colleagues. Then you will have a Skype call or a Google Meet. Then you will discuss threadbare. Then Rakesh will say, I have picked up this statement from Aman. I have picked up, this is what I have picked from Zia. And this is what is the statement which Vijay Lakshmi had given. This is what is the editing, what I have done. And this, what I feel is the right statement, shall we discuss? Then you will discuss, debate, brainstorm, you will make a few more changes. And based on the output of that, again, Rakesh, after that particular call, will sanitize all the statements. So he will have the final list of strengths and OFIs for criterion 2 ready. The same thing, Zia will lead one, maybe Priyanka will lead one, Mujibur will lead one. So each one of you, you will have to do your job as a part of the consensus. This is what is the principle of consensus. Taking everybody's inputs, discussing together, debating, brainstorming, and coming to an agreed conclusion. So no hierarchy, no seniority. It is all about accommodating and trying to understand other views and coming to a logical conclusion. This is what we call as consensus. So any points on the consensus now? Any questions? So these days, I think
Sir,
consensus.
if there is no
pretty
consensus-
good. Sorry?
So, is there a mediation that suppose on certain aspects you continue to disagree? As in, is there a mediation? No.
No, it will happen. See, nothing that while we say that consensus is ideal, but there is a political parties में जो होता है ना, that minimum agreed agenda ऐसा कुछ. So here also the same thing will happen.
Okay. All right, sir. Okay.
All of us will have very, very strong conviction. So what we do is, we will, whatever we agree, we will put up all that list. Whichever is contentious, that we will mark it in red and then park it and site visit में देखा जाएगा. Not a problem.
Okay. All right.
Generally, if the discussions are endless, then the senior assessor will take a call and he will say, we will go by this. That is the reason why a senior assessor is also there. He will calibrate
That's what I
or
wanted to ask.
moderate.
Okay.
He
So
will moderate the proceedings if it is going beyond a certain point.
all right. So his decision is fine.
So, but the healthy discussions and debates are a part of the game and it should be there. आपको ये नहीं कहना चाहिए सर नहीं सर आप सीनियर असेसर हैं आप जो कहेंगे हम राजी है whatever you say it is okay. That is not the right spirit of consensus.
PSU में तो ऐसे ही होता है सर.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. See, earlier it used to happen. बहुत साल पहले, like at least when I remember when I joined CII in 2006, those days I was a sort of a trainee assessor. So those days the assessments were all on-site. Even consensus was also on-site. There were a lot of business excellence assessments in which the senior assessor used to shout, many assessors used to go away. वो सब झगड़ा गेड़ा वो सब हो रहा था. So all those things were there. But now people are more mature and organizations are also more mature. Now people are more learned. They are ready to accept everybody else's point of view. It is more democratic now. Earlier it was very, very autocratic. पहले तो senior assessor was the boss. Now senior assessor is more of a facilitator and a catalyst. He will not impose his thoughts unless and until something is going drastically wrong. So now I think all of us are in a much better position. The assessment process has also improved. The maturity of the assessment process has also gone up. So due to which we are unlikely to face too many major issues. Right? So that was about the consensus. Let us now go into the statements what each one of you have made now. I think we are also well in control of the time also. Okay. Now, what I want all of you to do is you will have to unmute your mics for some time. I will not go through each and every sheet, that is next to impossible. I will take a few sheets by random, 1 or 2, 3 strengths, 2, 3 OFIs. What I want each one of you to comment is, like for example, now whatever is there on the screen, let's say now this strength has been written. What I want all of you to say is, first of all, is this a strength or not? The second thing is, whatever is written and whatever is marked over here, whether both of them are in sync. So whatever is written over here, now our friend says it is approach, deployment, E&L, all of them are seen in this statement. So first, is this a strength or not? Second thing is the marking right? So I want your opinion. Everybody read this and tell me that, first of all, is this a strength and is the marking appropriate? You can unmute and share your point of view. Yes, please. What are your observations on this strength? Is it a strength? Anybody has identified this as a strength? What is it?
Yes, Shiva, this is a strong strength for BPCL, and they have shown, I would say all the marketing are correct in this because they are doing the approaches what the deployment is well, and they are doing.
Madam, you are not audible.
Not audible?
Not audible, ma'am. Okay, anybody else can speak out?
I am Chandramouli. Yes, this is a strength, and I feel the learning part probably has not come out very well. Otherwise, other things, AD is there, and this is certainly a strength.
Okay, so what you are saying is, Chandramouli is saying is A and D, both of them are there, but maybe the L and I portion is not there, correct, na? Because if there is an L and I portion of it, then this statement should have said what has been improved in the process. So since there is nothing over here, it is better to keep this blank and only comment on the strength and the approach and the deployment. That is good enough. Anyway, there is a measure, leadership pipeline development, that is there as a part of the strategy. Anyway, the results are also given. So A, D and a portion of M is very much applicable. But is statement mein L and I is not seen, so we just leave it blank. Okay, next one. Look at this. What is this? Can you comment on the second one? BPCL keeps itself abreast with changes happening outside the organization by frequent engagement through tools like surveys, benchmarking. It also nominates employees for foreign training and conferences. Is this a strength or OFI? What is it? First of all, can this come here as a strength? Is it anything connected with strategy? See, you look at what is the theme, what is it that is written here. He is trying to talk about nomination of the employees on training, conferences, etc., and something on shaping of the key themes. But this has got nothing to do with the strategy of the company, na? Is it anything to do with the HR strategy? No. So if so, then whoever is doing the collation or that consensus, he should say that this can be put in red and marked below, because we are not going to make use of this, because हमारा HR excellence criteria में in criterion 2 there is no question where we are trying to talk about it. So this can be in red and it can be parked below.
There are two aspects to it, Shiva. One is a strategy part and one is a learning part. Both the points have been merged here.
Okay.
So from a learning point of view, strategy part is yes visible in the documentation which is shown. But from a learning element, they have been given training, but their outcome has not been displayed. So this could be parked under OFI. The learning element can be parked under OFI.
No. Is the learning element to do with the strategy or what?
No, both are separate points.
Then you must not club.
Yes.
Now, if we are trying to talk only about the strategy,
yes,
we must write something over here. Or if this is, for example, this is to with, it says it is nominating employees for foreign training. This is all to do with capability building.
Yes.
Huh? So
This
we
is
can
the
cut and
main
place it in criterion 3.
Yes, correct.
So we should go to criterion 3. That is how we need to look at it.
Yes.
Similarly, one more strength. Let us try to get into another one or two samples. So I think Nagma, are you also online? There is some message that you have sent. I hope all of you are able to listen to me, right? No problem on that. And Nagma had sent me a message, so I'm trying to say I hope all of you are able to listen to me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let us try to take another one or two sample ones. Now here is a sample. He says that the applicant derives a macro and micro inputs from the external ecosystems like the 5-year plan, other sources like consultants, service magazines, etc., which I think all of us recognize that it is a strength, correct? But only because maybe due to the time thing, the marking is not done, but I think this is a strength, no doubt. Let us try to look at maybe it is somebody else. Now look at this. Scanning of the external environment has been captured through reputed consultants like BCG, KPMG, industry this thing. The inputs captured through the environmental scanning flow into the formulation of the HR strategy involving dedicated teams. Now, all of you agree that this is a good strength, right? This is certainly a strength, right?
Yes, sir.
And the marking is also appropriate, A and D. So whatever is written and whatever is marked, both of them are okay. So that is how. So this is a good example of whatever is written over here and whatever is marked, both of them are perfectly fine. So this is where the quality of our statements and the attribute marking, both of them has to be in sync. Only if both of them go together, then our scoring will also be right, or else the scoring will tend to go wrong. Let us try to look at a couple of OFIs. Let's say, are there any OFIs over here? Yeah, there are quite a few OFIs. Let us try to take a sample over here. What else is over here? The applicant has risk identification only to areas such as hiring and succession planning. The applicant can take steps to identify and mitigate risk in the other areas such as compensation, benchmarking. Identified risk is financial abuse, reviewing and refining the authority matrix in the area of employee conduct. So yes, so is this a strength or an OFI? First of all, anything on the risk, is it a strength or an OFI? First.
I think it is an OFI, sir.
If risk management is an OFI, but whatever is written, is it correct here, or can it be written better, or what should have been written?
What I understand, it is an OFI, and I think the assessment should not be suggesting.
Now, see.
These areas, the OFI should be highlighted, and it can be said that in these areas it is not seen or observed. That can be written instead of giving a list of suggestions how it has to be done.
Yeah, that is right. And also, Anil also says, can be suggestive. Vandana says this is more prescriptive. You are right. Whenever we give an OFI, we must not give a prescription. Our OFIs should be dispassionate. We should say that while we see some elements of risk management, but we are not able to see an overall risk management approach for the identified 9 themes. While some few anecdotal examples are given for area 1, 2, 3, that's it. We must never write actions taken, or you could consider to look at it. We must not write. So, and in an assessment, trying to be judgmental, trying to be prescriptive is not something that is advisable. So that is one learning, right? And next, let us look at the other OFI. Since strengths are easy to find, but OFIs are difficult. So let us try to look at the other OFI over here. Now, here it says the applicant needs to showcase a better demonstration of the changes brought about in the HR strategy over the last 2-3 years, along with the impact. There is only a brief mention of the VLP program used to co-create HR vision statements. There is no clear evidence as to why the change in HR strategy was required, and if the change was done in the last 2-3 years, what is the measurable impact? Fair enough. So is this an OFI? How many of you have got an OFI on the L&I portion of it? Do you think that this is an OFI?
Yes, sir, this is an OFI, not the entire part, but yes, the first para is certainly an OFI.
सर आप फिर से म्यूट पे चले गए हैं शायद. We are not able to hear you.
Shiva, I think you have got muted again.
Oops. Oh, sorry. I don't know why it suddenly happens. Not too very sure. But anyway, thanks. Good that you got it out. Now here, you said that there is no clear evidence in the HR strategy. Now this is correct. This is fine. But this need to be taken out when somebody is doing a consensus, na? तो इसको आपको निकाल देना चाहिए, क्योंकि because we are not talking about the relooking of the HR vision. We are trying to look at the relooking of the HR strategy process. So due to which this can be cut. So whoever is doing the consensus, this can be edited. But however, this certainly is an OFI and well written. And as we discussed earlier, so this need not be given. So we must not give that prescription, just need to be removed. That would be better. But I think the marking certainly is appropriate. Only thing is maybe this can be taken out because we are not seeing learning and improvement. But okay, I understand why you are trying to give M is also that you are saying that the measurable impact of the change in the strategy is not done. So to that extent, I think whatever is written and whatever is marked, both of them are perfectly in sync. Good way of the attribute marking. Well written. Let's look into a couple of others now. Now, each of the business units have formulated the annual business plan by following a bottom-up approach, which also takes care of customer aspirations, market expectations. They have also formulated a 5-year plan at the corporate level being monitored by the Apex level committee, which drives the overall HR strategy. Now, this is something that is good because in the 4th point of the model bullet, it also talks about how the strategy has been formulated, whether they take everything into consideration. So this point is being addressed. So a good strength, but only thing is I think marking is missing. Once you do the marking, I think this will become a good strength. And if you are able to give a HR flavor to this, it would be much better. Because sometimes it may look like more something like a corporate strategy planning process. Because they have given you a visual which talks about the company policy, the HR policy, and then something to do with a 5-year HR plan. So they have given you 3-4, they have given you a collage, they have given you a small picture in terms of how they do the HR strategy planning. You can also make a reference to that. So that can be a good strength that is also syncing well with the criterion.
So, but when in the application document, if you see, this point has been more so emphasized for a business strategy.
Good. That is the reason why I said whether you must write it or not, you must take a call. Now, if the business strategy has been linked to the HR strategy and he is trying to connect it to the HR strategic themes, then it is relevant to be put over here. But here, please remember, this is an HR excellence assessment and we are assessing the HR strategy formulation. The only thing where business should come in is the business strategy, the HR strategy should be linked to the business strategy. If that flair is coming in this statement, then it is good. But going by this, it looks like it is more true with the business HR, true with the overall corporate strategy. So then you may need to tweak this statement to bring that HR flavor, then it will be good, then you can do the marking. Okay, is that right, Ruma? So let's try to look at a couple of other statements. So now look at this. This was the point what I was saying. Ruma, here is the answer. Now here one of our friends says HR strategy is synced with the business strategy. Now this is good. And this is what we are also wanting to look at. Since it is in sync with the business strategy, then you are also marking this integration.
Definitely, sir. Very true.
So I is clicked because obviously it is the development of the HR strategy. So I is also there. S, because we assume that there is a process owner and he is leading this. So this marking is also fine. But the only thing goes over here is we are not seeing anything in L&I. So L&I need not be marked over here because our statement is not talking anything about the improvement over here. So maybe we must restrict only ourselves to this. And one more point that is pertinent that all of you must also realize, when we are looking at criterion 2 is strategy. Strategy is done only once in a year. So the L&I can come only once a year. It cannot be there for each and every point. Oh, L&I nahi aayega. But whereas for a recruitment process, induction process, PMS, succession planning, leadership, coaching, mentoring, for all the other processes, whatever are there, other than strategy, you could have an L&I for an individual process. But since the strategy development happens only once in a year, So the L and I, either you give a strength or an OFI, can only be once for this criterion. So for each one of the strength and OFI, it may not be pertinent to mark L and I as green or red. There can only be one L and I strength or an OFI for the entire strategy portion. Are you clear what I am saying? Any comments on this point? Strategy is an annual exercise. So you can't have an L and I every time. Maybe for a strategy review, you can have an L and I. But the strategy development only happens once a year. You don't change strategy, every month, no? Strategy is something that is generally cast.
But sir, again, it also depends on the business cycle or which industry you are in. Like you mentioned, suppose it's telecom or BPO, you may have to revisit your HR strategy 6 months down the line. Say Corona came, you had certain recruitment.
That is exceptional. That certainly is possible because all of us are relooking at both the business strategy, HR, operations strategy, everything is being looked into. Let us say if the Corona were not to be there, then would just try to take all the sectors into consideration. How many of you are likely to change if it is a normal year, everything going on standard? How often will the business strategy or the HR strategy likely to change in a year?
Sir, business strategy maybe not, but again, sunrise industry, in case of a sunrise industry, we business strategy maybe is one sacrosanct, but to address that need, HR strategy may have to tweak a bit, say 6 months down the line. The business strategy is for a year. Again, I'm talking specifically from an industry point of view, not in a manufacturing sector or core sector like us. But for a sunrise industry, it is quite possible.
Could be. Revisit. That is true. You are right. It is highly contextual. If things are on an autopilot mode, generally there is no need. But if there are certain dissonances, let us say suddenly the IT industry goes into, let's say it goes into a shell, then obviously because of benching, etc., then the HR strategy may need to be revisited because of certain extraneous factors which are not under our control. So during an exceptional time, the functional strategies will be looked into. But generally, the word strategy is very sacrosanct. Ideally, an annual business plan or an annual HR strategy or a financial strategy, when thought out, will not change because it would have been done with lot of deliberations. But however, some small course correction might be there. But if the entire strategy is being revamped, then it means that their reading of the business, their reading of the external environment, something is drastically wrong. Then that actually the quality of the process itself is in question. It will be a suspect. So that's how we need to look at it.
Correct. But when we are looking at the document, we find last 3 years data in it. So if we feel that there is a requirement of the strategy change and that it was required to be changed, keeping into consideration the contextual things, then I think L&D should creep in over there, sir.
Why only L&D? No, anything could creep in.
L&I of the strategy should creep in.
Certainly, not a problem. So it all depends upon the context, and it could possibly you could do it. Anupriya says, how do we take care of this during the marking? Abhi ke liye marking side pe chhod dijiye. We will do marking tomorrow or day after. So don't worry on the marking. Currently, our today's focus is on, one is how do we write the strengths and OFIs? How do we do the marking, attribute marking? That is what is the focus. And another point when it comes to the L&I. L&I should not be a tool for the assessor so that he uses it something like a hammer. Jahan bhi dekha L&I maro, that is not the right way. Now all of us know, as people who are heading organizations, who are heading certain processes, if something is working well, why will you change? Just because you applied for HR excellence, it doesn't mean that you have to show L&I. Correct, no? So you must also be very, very cautious that L&I is called for only when the applicant sees that there is an opportunity for improvement and he must leverage on it, only then he will change. If everything is working well, why do you want to rock the boat? or you don't see any potential, I would say, benefits by changing it, you will not change. Or if you have changed something last year, you are first wanting it to stabilize, only then you will look at the next change. So as an assessor, please be very cautious about this also. Do not use the tool of that E&L left, right and center. You must use it very, very cautiously and judiciously. You put yourself in the applicant's place. If something is working well, why will you go and change something? If something is already giving you good results, unless and until there is a very clear trigger for you, you will not go and change. So the same thing holds good for the this thing. So there must be a trigger, only then. So many assessors have the bad habit of trying to say we don't see learning and improvement, we don't see integration, we don't see this. So without justifying this, trying to give an OFI, that may not go well with the applicant. So also be cautious about that. Okay, so next, what else? Now this is whoever has written this is also good. If you see over here, here one good thing is he has mentioned about consultants like magazines like or some agencies like. So it is also trying to give what is the quality of the inputs that has been taken in terms of trying to do that activity. So the more you try to pepper it with the words which the applicant has used, then it gives more confidence to the applicant that somebody has seen through my process, and you will also be able to score it better. Even though the attribute marking is not done, but I think the writing of this is very good. Next is what PPCL has understood the importance of maintaining the strategic outlook. Some of the initiatives have helped the organization quadrupling the profit. See, here we are only trying to talk about the strategy development process. So there may not be a need for us to talk about the profit. So this we can talk about in criterion 6B, business results. We can talk about it there. And I think this is very good. This is also a good strength what has been identified. So risk management is an OFI, good. Next, what is it? How the senior management like CMD and the board gives, how is it that they are trying to communicate the HR strategy? Maybe yes, this is also a good OFI which is worth pursuing. Why not? That's good. Next, what else is there? So here we have one more, applicant gathers. I think written very well, very extensively. You're also saying that the apex level committee and the management committee reviews the strategy. So review is also there, M is also there. But the L and I, why is L and I marked over green over here? So let us look at it. But the statement over here is not talking about the learning and improvement of the strategy. So to that extent, we will make this white, and this marking and whatever is written goes very well. Okay. Next, all the inputs of the strategy flow into the formulation, planning, implementation. Then on you're talking about the project Q6. Then based on the HR strategy, paradigm of transformational HR, all this is fine. The applicant has identified and mapped the key HR processes essential to do that. Employee engagement. The applicant has also added value to the HR process by improving the value added in terms of the significant outcomes. Very elaborate one. Maybe you can split this into two strengths. That would be better. You can talk about the 9 strategic themes and the areas of focus. So what I'm saying is this portion can be one strength. The remaining can be the other one. So you can actually split this strength. And another learning is also, now we are seeing L and I. L and I cannot happen if there is no measurement. So when you have said L and I is there, I'm just trying to take a hypothetical case. When L and I is there, M has to be there. Without measurement, you will not be able to know what to improve, how to improve, because where will you get the triggers or where will you get the data to look at it? So L and I, if you are marking it as green, then M implicitly has to be green. It can't go without that. Both of them go hand in hand. Similarly, there are a few more. I'm not going into the statements. I'm just trying to make some general observations which all of you must learn. Now here, let's say we have something on this approach, on this strength written over here. Never mark only approach as green. An approach without a deployment can never be scored. Because you are saying alignment between the corporate strategy, organization context and the formulation of HR strategy is well demonstrated. So you are already saying it is demonstrated. So this should also be green. Only you should never give a strength only on the approach. Approach with deployment, only you can score. See, I am saying that I intend to be a very good corporate citizen. Only intention is not good enough. I should back up my intention with implementation. Only then you can score me. Only approach, no. Let me give you one practical example. When you go into an assessment, an applicant says, now you are in the month of August, you go out to a site visit in the month of October. The applicant says, sir, June, July में हमने एक बड़ा जबरदस्त initiative लगाया. You know, it is already rolled out and these are the details of it. Now he has rolled it out in June, July. Now we are only in September, October. It is only 3 or 4 months. So there is no need for you to consider it. And there is also no need for you to write it as a strength. Any strength when you are writing should have any approach should have been deployed for a reasonable amount of time and it must have gone through one complete cycle of A&R if it has to make some sense and if it has to be scored. An initiative that has been started in April or May, which you are assessing in July or August, you can't give a score. Because it has to go through one cycle of implementation and the applicant himself must get that conviction that, this is working for me. Till such time you can't score it. So nascent initiatives, please avoid writing it. You can make a mention of it, but don't spend too much of time and energy and number of pages in terms of explaining all that. So that was also something. Then, okay, here is also an OFI on applicant has not mentioned about the HR goals and how they are set and tracked. Goal setting, aligning and tracking of these goals. So you are trying to talk about the quality of the deployment. You are not able to find an evidence. Okay. In that case, if you are saying that you are not able to see clarity on the goals and the associated tracking, then you give only the OFI on the approach. Then all this become implicit within that. You are saying that I am not seeing an approach to the strategy being cascaded and reviewed. If you have something very specific on the deployment portion of it, you put only on the approach. That is good enough. No need of marking the whole thing. Or if you are saying that strategy is being deployed, but not with respect to this statement, I'm just trying to just share some examples. If you are not too very clear about the deployment, then you can say that I have seen it in 2 places, we have not seen it in the others. So you may not want to comment on this at all. You can say that deployment in these areas are flawed. So then you go and look into it. Then accordingly, you can redo your OFI when you go to the site. So that is how you must try to look at the strengths and OFIs. So good. I think broadly we have gone through quite a few statements of the strengths, the OFIs, how do they look at, how do we do the marking, etc. So with this, let me go back to the result portion. And as I said, good work by all of you in terms of trying to redo this activity. The quality of your activity when compared to whatever you had sent day before yesterday to whatever you have sent yesterday, there is a sea change. All of you might have observed. So it means that you are trying to understand the power of the OPEL. You are trying to make the right statements and your attribute marking is also more or less well on track. So good. So let us try to see how to leverage this understanding now with respect to the result criterion also. So let me go back to the PPT again. So let me try to share with you a couple of points now on how to do the result criteria, because tomorrow the exercise in front of you, what you need to do today night, the activity is whatever you have done for criterion 2, you need to do a similar activity for criterion 6B. 6B is the lead indicators in the BPCL case study. So how to write the strengths and OFIs? Let us see the result section. So it is there in your courseware, you can look at it. This is a sample. Whenever you are trying to write a strength for results, please remember results are all about numbers. They are objective. They are about a level of performance. So results should always have numbers. It must have metrics. It must not look like the enabler statements, whatever you have written in criterion 2. So it should be distinctly different, and make sure that you use a second format. Second format is the result format. In the two blank statements, rather the template that was given, one template was on the enabler and the second one was on the result. So you need to use a result template in which the attributes of excellence are scope, integrity, segmentation, then trends, targets, comparisons, and then the cause and effect. So you will have SIS, TTCC. So that is what are the attributes of excellence for results. Now let us look at this sample. Now, what is given over here as a strength? So one of the strengths is for a particular company that the segmented perception results of 2 categories of employees are presented for 16 parameters, covering most of the HR processes. And data is presented from FY15 to FY18. So 3 years of data is presented for 2 categories of employees and for 16 parameters, which more or less cover all the HR processes. Then he is also saying that ES, employee satisfaction score, indicates an increasing trend with a score of 85% in year 2017 when compared to 80% in 2016. Set target of 83% is achieved and compares well with external benchmarks also. So this is a statement. Now let us try to do the attribute marking in this. Now this is the result OPEL. So in the result OPEL, what is it that we had? Let me just try to go into a window, or let me use the pen. Now, what does the result OPEL tell us? The result OPEL talks about the relevance and usability of the process. Then we also talk about performance. Now, even in performance, we have got trends, we have got targets, we have got comparisons, we have got cause and effect. Similarly, when it comes to R&U, what do we have? We have scope and relevance. We have got S, scope. We have got integrity. We also have segmentation. These are the 3 attributes. Let us try to read through this. It says segmented perception results of 2 categories of employees are presented. So he is trying to comment on the segmentation. He says 16 parameters the information is given. So it means that the scope of the results also presented are also fairly good. When it comes to integrity, we are not questioning anything on the integrity. We are assuming that the data, whatever is given, in full faith, we are assuming that it is okay. We only look into the quality of the results when we go to the site visit. Till such time, we assume that the integrity of the results is sacrosanct. Similarly here, he is also trying to talk about the trend. He says that ESS scores are talking about an increasing trend. So the trend is positive. He says 83% target has also been achieved. And he is also saying that this compares well with some competition also. This is also fine. So cause and effect, once we have read that through the document, we can even tick saying that whether this is also okay or not. So this is how we try to do the attribute marking for the result criterion. Whatever you write, your marking should be linked up to scope, integrity, segmentation, trends, targets, comparison, and the cause and effect. So Vandana says, what if the trend is not shown for 3 years? Whenever we say a trend should always be for a period of 3 years. So in this particular statement, it is trying to talk about 85 and 80, but maybe because somewhere there is also a gap over here. If the 3-year data is there, we can say it is a trend. If only 2-year data is there, it may not be called as a trend, but if as an assessor you get that conviction compared to the earlier years, this is much better, you can consider it as a trend. You can go to the site and look at what is happening, based on which you can make your observations. So the learning over here is, whenever you are trying to write a strength or an OFI, especially in the result criterion, you must talk about numbers. You must talk about the percentage increase. You must talk about whether somebody has been able to meet the target or not. It is all about performance. So please be very clear. The quality of the statements, what you wrote 2 days back, the statements, what you are going to write today, should look distinctly different. Similarly, we will go into one OFI. So in the OFI, it says, while the applicant shows overall satisfaction at 85%, the trend is not presented. So he has given only one data point. So trend is not presented. Similarly, the data is not segmented by key employee groups. He is saying that, look, your organization, you have got 4 employee groups. You have not segmented the data. You have given only me aggregate data. So how we are identifying their variation, I am not too very clear. So again, if we go into the SISTTCC, trends, targets, comparison, cause and effect, going by this statement, he is saying that the trend is not presented. So there is an OFI on the trend. He is also saying the data is not segmented. So there is an OFI on the relevance and usability portion of it also. And there is also OFI on the performance. So he is saying trend is also not there. He is saying segmented data is also not presented. So your statements and the marking of the attributes, both of them need to go hand in hand. Now let me give you some inputs on the BPCL case study, how you need to attempt this exercise. I'll come to the chat box a little bit later. Let me try to get into this BPCL. Where is the BPCL case study? Hope this is the one. Yeah. Now the activity what we are trying to do, what is there in front of you as the homework, is for the result criterion of 6B. Now let us go into 6B. Now in 6B, this document, as I said, is not a perfect document. Now, for example, he has given what is the diversity of the employees. Neither is it a trend, and even the trend may also not be really good enough for us, because you don't know when the hiring will take place, because we cannot say that hiring has been going up, so it is a good trend. If the business is going down and the hiring is going up, then it is not a very great trend. That is also not a great indicator of the good HR strategy as well. So there are certain places where the data or the information is given, it may not be useful. So just neglect it or make use of it where it is applicable. Now they have given a breakup of the permanent employees. What do you make out of it? This is giving a good, you can make use of this information for writing a strength in the diversity portion of it in the enabler. But इस number से कुछ ताल्लुक नहीं है, 6B का कुछ ताल्लुक है ही नहीं, so you can just ignore. So there are good things, there are also not so very good things. You need to see what to make use of. Like for example, he is saying recruitments. He is giving you data in terms of all these years, how the recruitment has gone, how many people have resigned, how many gate recruits. These are all good. Again, diversity. You are not going to give scores or high scores because you have enlisted Buddhists, you have enlisted Christians, Jains, Hindus, or any other category. It really does not make any sense. It is giving a flair of the diversity, but these trends really do not matter. They are not very significant or important to us. It only shows that BPCL is an inclusive organization. Fair enough. But so that is where, as an assessor, there is no need for you to comment on whatever is written. Whatever is written, if it is pertinent, make use of it, or else just ignore. For example, attrition rate. This is good. You can make use of it. They have given information on the health and safety year by year, man days lost, etc. This is something good. They have given you information on training man days of upstream, downstream, midstream, the number of people. They have given you information on the training budget, on the expenditure, number of people who are being trained. These are all good information that you can make use of. So pick and choose. Now another thing is, in the result criterion, they might have given you 20, 25, 30 parameters. No need to give 30 strengths or 30 OFIs. No need to comment on each and every graph. What you need to do is look at which results are very, very important to this particular applicant. This applicant is in the business of oil and gas. Safety, extremely important. Health and safety, accidents, very important. On that you must comment. 6B is trying to talk about value creation. It is trying to talk about business results. They have talked about profitability. Financial excellence is also one of the cornerstone. They have talked about increased profitability, increased revenue, but reduced manpower. That is a good element of productivity. So please write a comment on that. It is trying to talk about market cap. They have given some data. Make use of it. And whatever information you want on the results, it is quite possible that you may not find all of them in 6B. Results are there at many different places also. That is the reason why I said compliance is if you read only 6B and criterion 2. Excellence is when you read through the entire document. Like I will just take you through the document in a few places. When you go to criterion 1, you will find that they have given some data over here on, where is it? Even though we are assessing 6B, you will see that there is a lot of data that is given in many of the other areas. So you can make use of it. Let's say when you are in criterion 3, now participation level of people in the L&D initiatives. Ideally, it should have been given in 6P, but for whatever reason, they thought it would be better placed over here. They have given you a trend. They have given the different initiatives. So this is a good trend. So you can make use of it and use in 6P because it is a good lead indicator. Similarly, they have given some data on Excalibur, Exceed, Accelerator. This is on their L&D. They have given how many people have undergone. This is good data. Make use of it. So look into the entire document and see, picture all the areas. Now look at this executive development. Again, number of senior leaders who have been trained. This is again good information. So look at this and then try to see which are all the different places where the information is given and make use of it and write the relevant things in criterion 6P. And also, let me also share with you one more tip. Whenever you are trying to write results, 6B is what? 6B is lead indicators. Lead indicators associated with leadership, with L&D, with strategy, with employee engagement. All these are very, very important. So there is no need to write a huge list of strengths and OFIs. Try to give a good representation to all the points in the model. More so, you must and should write about results that are connected with the business strategy. Let me try to tell you what is it. Now, just now we have gone through this criterion 2. So if you go to criterion 2, they have also given what are some of the most important areas as a part of their strategy. Now look at this. They are saying that high performing work environment. So if there are any results on the high performing work environment, that should have mandatorily been presented in 6P. They are saying that operate in a climate of trust, deliver best in class HR services. Are there some lead indicators associated with it? You can check and you can give that. Now they are saying build leadership pipeline. That is where that Exceed, Excalibrate, they will all be very, very important. So on those you can give a strength. So whatever is mentioned as very, very strategic to this company. On all those, the lead indicators must and should. Considering that it is an oil and a gas company, health safety requirements must and should. So you must comment on the most important parameters of 6P rather than just trying to comment about left, right, and center everything. So pick, choose, look at the HR strategy and do it accordingly. That is what will become extremely important to you. Right? So these are some points for you for attempting the exercise. Let me also get into the chat box. Now, Das is asking, can we give an OFI if some information which we think is very relevant is absent in the report? Absolutely. If you are seeing in 6B that there is some lead indicator which is very, very strategic because it is coming on the HR strategy, but they have not given the results on that, you can give that as an OFI and color the scope portion of it as red. So you're giving a scope under, you are giving a OFI under the scope, very much pertinent. So any other questions over here? Okay. Vandana is asking, what if the target is missing? Now, one of the points, Vandana, what you must look at is targets and comparisons are not required for all results. Please go through the OPEL for results. All of you, please go through the OPEL for results. It says targets and comparisons are mandatory for the strategic results. So he's trying to talk about building leadership pipeline, or maybe he's saying that they are wanting to be a benchmark in the industry in the area of health and safety. But of course, that is more of a perception. But are they comparing their accidents with an IOCL, with a Shell or somebody else? That is what compares. If that sort of a comparison is not given, then you can give an OFI. You are justified. So targets and comparisons are only for the key results, not for all the results. So to sum up, for the exercise, you use the second template of the results, use scope, integrity, segmentation, trends, targets, comparisons, and results. Read through the 6B criterion. There are many other places where the lead indicators are given. You can make use of all of them for making your observations for the strengths and the OFIs. And the second aspect is bunch all the related indicators together. Don't L&D they might have given information on 3-4 different initiatives. So club all the L&D initiatives and give one strength or OFI. Club all leadership related ones, give a strength and OFI. Club HSE indicators into one family and give a strength or an OFI. That is a better way of trying to give strengths and OFIs rather than trying to comment on the individual ones. So 5 or 6 strengths and maybe another 4 or 5 OFIs as you would see. So make an attempt. I'm sure that since you have done a good job on the enablers portion of it, I'm sure that you will also be able to do well on the OFI portion of it also, on the result portion also of the thing. So do it, and as usual, send it out to me by tonight or tomorrow morning. Tomorrow we will get into the scoring of the enabler criterion and also the quality of your activity, what you have done on the result criterion also. This is what is the agenda for tomorrow. Yes, please. You can open up your mics. Any questions? We can take a few questions before we close for the day. So Anupriya, I have answered your question. For evaluating 6P, do we need to read the entire report? Scan through that, you will find many lead indicators over there.
Shiva, could you please once again elaborate upon the marking or the evaluation criteria for the enablers? I think I might have missed it yesterday.
Enabler criteria, the format what we have used, right? In that there is this approach, deployment, E&L. You have used that format. So there we were talking about soundness, integration to the business strategy, implementation, systematic, measurement, and then the learning and improvement. That is what was that AD, E&L. Now today, when you are doing the same activity for the results, you need to use the result OPEL, you need to use a result template. Result template mein, you have the attribute, you have the elements of relevance and usability and performance. For relevance and usability, the attributes are scope. Scope of the results presented, whether is it good or not, whether something is missed out or not. So on that, there can be a strength or an OFI. Similarly, segmentation of the data with respect to different employee segments can be a strength or an OFI. So the data relating to refinery, upstream, downstream, data is there or not, that can be a strength or an OFI. Similarly, trends for 3 years, that is what you can comment on.
For today's result criteria, I mean, it's absolutely clear. I mean, I think I might have missed it for the enabler criteria. Maybe tomorrow I'll go through it on my own. Tomorrow I can raise any doubts. Okay.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Sure. So if no questions, we can log off and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So as I said, I think Sumana might have sent that the invite for the...
We will be sending it right away, Shiva. We were actually waiting. Nagma will be sharing it with the CC to you also.
So many of your people who are there in operations, who are in technology, you might ask them to attend that. It's a global conference, so we look forward to having many of your other colleagues, but we look forward to having all of you here. I am not attending that conference, I am here with you. So that is something that is rest assured. So thanks a lot. So look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow morning once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiva. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.